Everyone, hope everything is going well. I'm going to be talking about the pumping that's going on, Star 84, and I want to look at the pumping that happened in 2020. And I want to look at a few markets as well besides sports cards. So this is going to be a little more finance type video. If you don't like those type of videos, then I'm going to politely tell you, hey, no, this video is not for you. But I know some people will still watch because they like hate watching for some reason. But let me look at this. This was from one of my stories, and I'm gonna tie it into all of this. And people will be like, what does this have to do with sports cards? I'll explain. Instagram story a few days ago. I look at patterns, look at what's going on with Diddy. DC Madam committed suicide in '08, right before a recession, yield curve uninverted, and had blackmail on powerful people. Two, Epstein committed suicide in 2020, right before the COVID pandemic, and had blackmail on powerful people. And then, I had made a typo. P. Diddy gas blackmail, has blackmail on powerful people right before a recession. Will he be suicidal? Well, some people would be like, so what does this have to do with sports cards and all of that? Well, '08, what happened? You had the worst recession in my lifetime. 2020, that was bad too, but things slowly picked back up. And unfortunately, many businesses lost their source of income. That sucked for them. You had the Epstein thing going on, then you had the Kobe Bryant, he was about to go against Big Pharma, and then unfortunately, he lost his life. I'm not saying it's a coincidence. I just think that's weird. He was about to go after Big Pharma, and boom, he's gone. And the recession happened, what, a few months after that? You had the shutdowns. I'm not saying with this P. Diddy thing, you're going to have the same thing that he's going to be suicided, but like look at the patterns. Right before a recession, yield curve uninverts. A lot of smart financial people that I talked to. I was at the Cubs game and I saw some of the all-star chart people there, greeted them. And I talked to one of the guys who runs a website, financial website, and he thinks that, yeah, no recession and all this. Very smart, intelligent people tell me no. Well, people will be like, hey, your timing's off. Yeah, it could be off, but the fundamentals are there. And I'm making preparations. I haven't sold all my stocks because I haven't seen a blow off top confirmation. But hey, look, when I see stuff like this going on, I take note. I look at pattern recognition. I did this with card porn. People don't like the way that I do things, but I do things the way that I do them. I'm not presenting a report to my manager. I'm not going to an auditor, you know, showing evidence and this and that. This is a blog, man. This is a YouTube blog. And what I want to get into is, hey, regards to Star 84 and the Fleer 86, specifically Star 84, this pumping is going on right before the whole house of cards is going to be coming down. Not only that, Jeff Wilson got busted for pumping Fleer 86, not Fleer 86, Star 84, right? And that's been swept underneath the rugs. Good Old Boy Network does not want to cover that at all. But I do want to look at price action now. And going back to this for my other video, Star 84, you could see PSA 8 sale. There was drama over this over the past week, but I guess Hard Ladder had approved the sale. I don't know who the buyer is, but once again, could why did they get rid of it? That's what I want to know. Was it because they thought someone's manipulating it or someone shady's buying it? They'll never say that publicly. But look at the sales from last year, 58,000 to $244,000. A lot of people have been giddy. They say, oh, it's great in this. And Jeff Wilson saying, oh, $144,000 gain. But he says that I didn't sell it, but he did sell it. But he says he couldn't say that he sold it because he had an agreement or he told the guy he sold it to that he's not going to disclose. So I don't know what Jeff Wilson's doing. I really don't know. Weird flex. But look at that, okay? So look at that. Like the low, assuming that their sales are correct and no hankus pankus is going on, okay? Even though I think hankus pankus goes on all the time in these markets. 52,000 from January to 244, okay? Look at Fleer 86, okay? This was during the pandemic. It's a different time frame. You didn't have some sports going on, and you couldn't go to stadiums, and a lot of people couldn't do what they normally did. I mean, I'm not taking a shot at Blaz, but Blaz couldn't gamble at that time. Now Blaz could take his money and go to Vegas and have a grand old time. But look at this. So you see a similar price of Fleer 86 in March of 2020, right when the lockdowns were happening, $45,000. Okay. And I think the Jordan documentary came out in April or May of that year. So you did see a price bump a couple months later. And the stimmy checks, the PPP stuff. Okay, 45,000. And some of the sales Card Ladder has, I think the height they have 612. I saw some sales in the 800, but were they legit or not? So, but this is what February of 2021. Going back to this, it's only 244. And there were multiple sales for Fleer 86. Okay. This is just popped out from 132 to 244. Okay. And what I like looking at, okay, is the 10-year tips, right? I use it for gold. I just did a video the other day. If you want to check it out on my other channel, I look at gold versus the 10-year tips. And I'm looking at something like last year, for instance. And actually, the 10-year tips went higher from a year ago. But if you just look at it from an October point of view, right? I looked at gold and it's worked perfectly for gold, where just everything's ripping higher for gold since October of last year. You go from October, let's take a look at some of the sales in October for this. Like October is like 58,000 for Star, okay? And 58 to 244. Granted, there's not that much liquidity. So here, whenever this is very positive, that tends to hurt collectibles and other alternative assets. And then once it gets lower, I've noticed that like on the high end, even like gold and silver, you tend to see, and if you want a further explanation, go to my other videos. I'll link it down below and all of that for you. Okay. What I've noticed is that you tend to see a spike up. Well, someone will be like, there's no spike up in Fleer 86 as much compared to Star. That's true. That's true. Now, the my question is, and I'm thinking out loud, I may need someone like Pancake Analytics to do a deeper dive, is some of these high-end cards, selectively speaking, is this a natural rise? I talk about pumping and this and that, but I'm just looking at this and I'm seeing, hey, look, Star is going up. Yeah, there's the Jeff Wilson pumping going on, but are other cards out there naturally going higher? This is just, me thinking out loud, me looking at variety of indices as well. And let's maybe do a year-to-date change from Card Ladder. And I'm just seeing it, right? Okay, there's constructive criticism of their indices, and I've talked about that as well. So their football index year to date, you want to look at what? Let's just look at the year. From January of this year, their index is showing a bump up. Okay. And you're looking at a lot of prices out there. You're just not looking at okay, one sale here, one sale there. That's why I like looking at indices rather than okay, is Jeff Wilson or a bunch of guys pumping. That's why I don't like looking at individual cards themselves. There's lots of hankus pankus going on. Okay. That's why I prefer gold and silver speculating in those because number one, you don't have guys like Shine messing around in those markets. There's millions of shares traded on those miners, on those stocks, the finance related stocks, the trading related stocks related to precious metals. That's why I like doing that and using the tips. I used to like looking at sports cards, but I didn't know they use the juice. I didn't know they use, you know, potential plants in this hobby to pump things up. You have a lot of deception going on. We all caught the Jeff Wilson deception regarding the star card. That's the issue with sports cards. There's a very low population size, so a lot of room for hanky panky, and then also trimming. But I do like looking at some of these indices, even though it's not accurate, because once again, of the reasons I said, but you have many sales. Okay. So you see basketball going a little higher. That could be because, hey, look, star. For instance, Jordan cards. There's a lot of room for Jordan. Let's try to look at players, for instance, because number one, I see some record sales for Jordan cards, right? So rate of growth for Jordan, I would attribute that to the number one, star, the star rise. So Michael Jordan is doing well so far. So his cards are getting a bump up. Let's look at Tom Brady, for instance. So Tom Brady, I want to look at from the beginning of the year, okay? So Tom Brady is slightly higher, okay, from beginning of this year. Not too much, but it's there. And I think what's going to end up happening, you see this rise in Jordan cards. A decade from now, they're going to be like, okay, we've exhausted the Jordan pump. What's next? Let's try to repump up Tom Brady. I think that's what's going to happen. And, you know, there's Brady, there's also baby goat Mahomes. I don't know how many titles he's going to win, but at this rate, I never thought this was possible, but you could exceed Brady at this rate. It sounds insane, but there isn't that much tough competition for Mahomes compared to what Brady had to deal with Manning, with Ray Lewis, dealing with him on the defensive end. But yeah, it is what it is. And I'm not bashing on Mahomes. He's still a phenomenal talent. And he still would have done well if he had played under, Brady and Manning, all that. He still would have championships. I don't think that it'd be less though. Now, we're seeing all of that go on. And I wanted to go back to Fleer 86 and the pumping. Okay. And the Star 84. So some people will be like, no, I don't believe the Star 84 pumping whatsoever. It's fake. It's this and that. Okay, that's fine for someone to think. Now, they may say also, I didn't believe this as well because of market manipulation. Well, I was looking at different markets from 2021 and 2020. And this move up 2020, 2021, as insane as this sounds, there are other markets that just had a parabolic rise up just like this. And as insane as this sounds, yeah, manipulation to a certain degree, but I like looking at price. And I'm looking at like some Bitcoin miners from 2020, 2021. You saw this huge pump up. These were like penny stocks that went up to $90. This was what? Marathon Digital Holdings. There's a Riot also. Penny stocks, 2020, went up to like $90. Like this ha this is just unreal. The same move, like topped out like what, near March? This topped out a little or in December, but going back to this was a natural rise. It wasn't that, excuse me, the in terms of price, you had many things go up like this. And it was liquidity from central banks and everything was shut down. So people just messed around with these type of things. And once again, I attribute to tips, negative interest rates. You see so much speculation. Now, I wonder though, for some of these high end cards, if this goes negative like it did in 2020, some of these high end cards, particularly Star, even though there's pumping going, there's a lot of cards in Golden's auction. If that PSA 9 comes back to auction or like a private sale deal, I wouldn't be surprised. And assuming no hanky panky's going on, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a ridiculous sale during this time frame if it goes negative. So I'm just thinking out loud, looking at these various pumps, and if these rates go negative right before a crash, you may see some record sales for some of these, for instance, high flyer cards for Jordan and other well sought out cards. But going back to this story, all this pumping that's going on, just remember these patterns. DC Madam, Epstein, and now P. Diddy. Yield curve uninverting. It's just patterns going on. And before the '08 crash, you saw some sports cards took a they topped out. They did take a dive, but that was a time to be buying sports cards because the Fed just printed money like crazy. What are they going to do this time around? It's going to be hard to put Humpty Dumpty back together this time. So it is what it is. Just wanted to think out loud, one of those videos. Anyways, let me know your thoughts. Talk to you later.